never believed in ghosts until I moved into this old house on Willow Street. It was a great deal too good to be true, I realize now. The real estate agent was overly eager to sell, and the previous owners practically gave it away. I should have known better, but the charm of the Victorian architecture and the spacious rooms blinded me to the warning signs. The first week was uneventful. I spent my time unpacking, arranging furniture, and planning renovations. It wasn't until the second week that things started to feel off. It began with little things. I'd put my coffee mug down on the kitchen counter, turn to grab the milk from the fridge, and find the mug had moved to the other side of the room. I blamed it on lack of sleep and stress from the move. Then came the cold spots, pockets of frigid air that seemed to follow me from room to room, raising goosebumps on my skin even in the heat of summer. I called a repairman to check the air conditioning, but he found nothing wrong. The feeling of being watched was next. I'd be reading a book or watching TV and suddenly feel eyes on me. I'd whip around, heart pounding, but there was never anyone there, just empty rooms and silent hallways. I tried to rationalize it all. Old houses settle. Drafts are common. An overactive imagination can play tricks on you. But deep down, I knew something was wrong. Then came the noises from the basement. It started as faint scratching, like mice in the walls. I set traps, but they remained untouched. The scratching grew louder, more insistent. Sometimes I'd hear whispering too faint to make out words, but unmistakably human. The worst was the footsteps. Late at night, when the house was silent and dark, I'd hear them. Slow, deliberate steps climbing the basement stairs, pausing at the top. Then more steps, crossing the hall to stop just outside my bedroom door. The first time it happened, I was frozen in terror, unable to move, barely breathing. When I finally gathered the courage to look, there was no one there. Just the empty hallway and the basement door, closed as always. I avoided the basement after that. Something about that old wooden door at the bottom of the stairs filled me with dread. I told myself I was being silly, that there was nothing to fear. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was down there, waiting. I called a priest to bless the house, called paranormal investigators to check for spirits, called a therapist to see if I was losing my mind. None of it helped. The phenomena continued, growing stronger by the day. Objects would fly across the room when I wasn't looking. Doors would slam shut on their own. Once I woke to find all the furniture in my bedroom had been rearranged while I slept. I was at my breaking point. I decided to sell the house to cut my losses and run. But the night before I was to call the real estate agent, everything changed. I woke in the middle of the night to an eerie silence. The usual creaks and groans of the old house were absent. Even the crickets outside were quiet. As I lay there straining my ears in the darkness, I heard it. The footsteps, but not from the basement this time. They were coming from inside my room. These slow, squelching steps, like wet shoes on carpet. I could see nothing in the pitch black, but I could hear the footsteps approaching my bed. Then I felt it, an ice-cold hand brushing against my arm. I screamed and leaped from the bed, fumbling for the light switch. When the lights came on, my blood ran cold. There, leading from my bedroom door to the side of my bed, was a trail of muddy footprints. Heart pounding, I followed them out of the room and down the stairs. They led straight to the basement door, which stood open, revealing pitch blackness beyond. I knew I should run. Knew I should get out of the house and never come back. But some morbid curiosity drove me forward. I had to know what was down there. As I reached the top of the basement stairs, the door began to swing shut. Without thinking, I lunged forward, grabbing the edge of the door. As I pulled it open, a hand shot out of the darkness, ice-cold fingers wrapping around my wrist. I screamed and pulled away, slamming the door shut. I could hear something pounding on the other side, desperate to get out. A voice, raspy and inhuman, called my name. I ran back to my room, barricading the door with furniture. That was a week ago. I haven't left since. The pounding stopped after a few days, but now I hear scratching at my door. Whispering voices calling my name, begging me to come out. The scratching is getting louder. The door is starting to splinter. I don't think I have much time left. Whatever is in this house, whatever came from that basement, it's coming for me. I can hear the wood cracking, see the door beginning to bow inward. The door won't hold much longer. I can see hands reaching through the cracks, pale and rotting. The voices are louder now, no longer whispering. They're screaming my name. Just as the door is about to give way, I hear a new sound: sirens. Red and blue lights flash through my window. There's pounding on the front door downstairs, but it's different, urgent, human. Police. Open up. Relief floods through me. Someone must have heard my screams, called for help. The entity in my room recoils from the door as footsteps thunder up the stairs. In here I shout, my voice hoarse. Please help me. The police break down my bedroom door, flooding the room with light, but as they enter, their faces contort in confusion. "Sir, are you all right?" one officer asks, looking around the undamaged room. I turn to point at the splintered door, the ghostly hands, but there's nothing there. The door is intact, the room undisturbed. No sign of the horrors I'd witnessed. They take me to the station for questioning. I tell them everything, desperate for them to believe me. They exchange worried glances, clearly thinking I'm having some kind of breakdown. After hours of questioning, they decide to let me go. As I'm leaving, an old detective pulls me aside. "My son," he says, his voice low, "I believe you. That house, it has a history. My advice? Get out. Never go back." I nod, grateful that someone finally understands. I check into a hotel, determined to sell the house and move on with my life. But as I'm lying in bed that night, trying to sleep, I hear it. Faint at first, then growing louder. Slowly, the closet door begins to open. I realize then, with dawning horror, that it was never about the house. Whatever was in that basement, it's attached itself to me. And now there's nowhere left to run. As pale, rotting hands reach out from the darkness of the closet, I understand the true meaning of the detective's words. I can never go back because I never truly left. Just as the door creaks opens, it was empty. I sighed with relief. But then my phone buzzed, a post from my sister, Sarah.